Okay, we are going to go ahead and get started. If you could all please take your seats, that would be great. Thank you. This is workforce. I know they had water up here. Do we all need to make a big switch? Are we good? Okay, it looks like there might be a few people making a switch. Okay, good afternoon. My name is Robin Lovewell, and I'm the Workforce Administrator for the City of Colorado Springs in the Office of Economic Development and the moderator for today's panel. It's my honor to be here. And the panel is Building a Stronger Workforce, Challenges and Solutions for Colorado Springs. We're here to explore how our community supports businesses and job seekers in today's complex labor market, whether they're students, career changers, transitioning military spouses, or anyone navigating a new chapter in their job search or in their job life. I'm joined by four incredible leaders who represent the full spectrum of our talent pipeline, from K-12 to higher education to workforce systems. Dr. Lance Bolton, president of Pikes Peak State College, over here at the end, and then over here we have Jenny Spice, director of UCCS T. Rowe Price Career Center. Next to her is Michael Gall, superintendent of Colorado Springs School District 11, and then Tamara Moore, who's the chair of the Pikes Peak Workforce Development Board. So we will get started with a question for everyone. Can each of you please briefly explain your role in the workforce ecosystem of Colorado Springs? Jenny, I'll let you go.
Oh, it is on. Good. As Robin said, I'm Jenny Spice, the director of the UCCS T. Rowe Price Career and Innovation Center. And along with College of Business Career Development Center and College of Engineering Career Center, we help students turn their academics into real skills, real world skills. And we connect them with employers. And I think what we do really well is support building a really strong workforce in the region.
Great, thank you. Michael, can you please explain briefly your role in the workforce ecosystem in Colorado Springs?
Hi, everyone. Thank you for being here. It's fun to be back at my alma mater. None of these buildings existed in 1997 when I got my master's at UCCS, but it's great to see how much is happening in our community here for education. I think District 11, we serve primarily as pipeline for workforce. We graduate around 1,500 seniors a year. If I think about just District 49 and District 20 at similar size, that's 4,500 kids graduating every year that are either going into higher ed or straight into workforce. And then we're also, we're a recipient of that own pipeline. I employ 4,500 employees, 1,500 certified teachers, and again, if you take that to scale of the other large districts in the region, that's 5,000 teachers, and nobody's making high-quality teachers as much as they used to. So I think District 11 sees itself as one, primarily, we would love to be seed and opportunity for any and all industries, and two, we want to solve our own problem by growing some of our own solutions.
Great, thank you. And Tamara, your role in the workforce ecosystem in Colorado Springs?
Great. Hello, I'm Tamara. I'm representing the Workforce Development Board and the Pikes Peak Workforce Center, which represents both El Paso and Teller counties. And what we do is provide services for employers in the region and job seekers. And we convene our educational partners, government partners, and businesses to solve the region's talent workforce pipeline. It's a little bit interesting. The workforce program reports up through the county. It's overseen by two El Paso County commissioners, Commissioners Wysong and Applegate, and Teller County Commissioner Bob Campbell, which oversee our policy and our fiduciary responsibility, but we are a federally funded and state-funded program. Long-winded answer. Thanks.
Great, thank you. And same question, Lance, your role in the workforce ecosystem in Colorado Springs.
Yeah, thank you and good afternoon. I want to just start by thanking the organizers for inviting me and all of us. We're really glad to get to be here to engage with you, and thanks for being here. When I think about that question, I think I've often used the metaphor that Pikes Peak State College produces the fuel for our economy here in Colorado Springs, and that fuel is in the form of workforce. So we have and enroll on an annual basis about 20,000 students a year at Pikes Peak, and more than half of those students are in programs that are designed to put them directly into the workforce. So we would call those career and tech ed programs. So it's healthcare, it's technology, it's, things like automotive technician and construction. So it's the jobs and the training that the people that really help make the infrastructure of our city work. They're coming to Pikes Peak State College and going out and filling those jobs and making our local economy happen.
Fantastic, thank you. So with opening questions, I've got a couple questions that I'll pose to the whole panel, and then we'll go on to individualized questions. So to the whole panel, what's one thing you wish more employers understood about the current talent landscape? And we'll start over here with Jenny.
I think it's important to know that students here at UCCS balance school, work, and families. They gain skills from projects, leadership, and service, and they aren't only about paid jobs or internships. It's important for employers to understand this piece, and if you understand that piece, I think that you have a great access to some really wonderful, diverse, motivated students here at UCCS, and hope that their skills will match what you need for your jobs.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I have a lot to say about this next generation, and I don't think it's much different than all the things that our parents said about us when we were in high school. So I think the first thing I would say is remember that. I call that turn that music down. You know, I think every generation screams either upstairs or downstairs to teenagers to turn the music down. I do feel that the disconnects are getting, or the gaps are getting wider in both opportunity for our students to explore workforce in the safety net of their K-12 experience, and I think that's a challenge that hopefully groups and individuals like you can help us overcome. We're restructuring all of public education around that idea. Our basic metric for high school is every kid graduates with a plan. I don't really care what the plan is. I will help you influence that if I can. We opened a Future Center in each one of our high schools, which is different than going to the counselor's office because it's a central, neutralized space that is filled with college, career, and technical opportunities that kids can dream and explore. And I'd be fine if a kid gave me a different pathway that they wanted to be on freshman year, sophomore year, junior year, and senior year. And then if they graduated and did none of those four, we've succeeded. Because we've saved that child and that family likely hundreds of thousands of dollars of loans and or failed certifications and experiences. So I think it's about let's take some chances, let's create some partnerships, and we're happy to share some more of the great things that we're doing in D11 with both UCCS and with Pikes Peak State College. Because if we just keep waiting, our kids are going to become as disenfranchised as we were when we graduated and as our parents were when they graduated. And I think the risk is just too great now for us to continue to let that gap widen.
Thank you. Tamara, again, the question, what's one thing you wish more employers understood about the current talent landscape?
I think what's interesting is when we all watch the news, whether you're a job seeker or employer, it can really bring up some fearful thoughts as we look at the economy. When I looked at the September job openings this morning, it's about the same number of job openings as this time a year ago. So even though we're starting to tell a story in our head, there's still lots of opportunities. And I don't think we've seen that we have a people shortage. There's so many great candidates in the area and so many great opportunities. I think we have a translation problem on job seekers trying to identify the skills that they have and employers trying to identify the skills that they need beyond degrees and certifications. And so I think what we want employers to know is how much help is available for job seekers and employers to start to translate that, because when you have a job description with those really rich skill-based descriptions, it starts to tell a story, and then we can have a match. So don't get disheartened.
Thank you. Yes, skills-based hiring is definitely something that we're talking more about with businesses and helping job seekers to understand that. So same question, what's one thing you wish more employers understood about the current talent landscape?
Yeah, thank you. I'm reminded by Michael's comments that I started a State of the College address a few years ago with a quote about the lazy and disrespectful younger generation, and the quote was actually from Aristotle. And so we've been doing this for thousands of years of complaining about the next generation down. One of the things I would say about the young people that I have the privilege of working with at Pikes Peak State College is that they're truly committed to wanting to do good work in the world, and that they want to find a place in the world where they can find purpose, where they can do good work, where they can change the world for the better. And I think that the young generation that we're working with right now seems far more committed to that than maybe some of my experiences as a young person, where I saw a lot more focus on how much can I earn and that sort of thing. So I do think that we're working with a lot of young people right now, and really privileged to do so, that really are committed to making the world a better place. The other thing I would say about it is that our young people need work experience, and they need opportunities. When a young person at Pikes Peak State College, or an adult in our programs, begins that program and then has an opportunity while they're still in the program to go work in a professional arena, it genuinely changes their perspective, changes them as a student. It changes their lives. For one thing, it certainly makes them more employable, but they also begin to really understand the value of the curriculum that they're encountering in college. So they're seeing things in class that are then being translated in the workplace when they get those opportunities. So one thing that I would just say always to employers is, you do a great service, I think, to yourself, but especially to students in our future workforce, when you create work opportunities, internship opportunities, apprenticeship opportunities, part-time work, whatever it is, in partnership with higher ed institutions, with high schools, and give young people an opportunity to be out there working and getting a taste of what that's really like, and building some confidence around their ability to do it well.
Thank you. Yes, work-based learning, whether it's internships, apprenticeships, that on-the-job training is very important. Okay, so another question for the whole panel.
Can we ad-lib a little bit? I want to ad-lib because I want to dovetail on Lance. In District 11, we partnered with the state. 2 years ago, we were the only urban district in the state that had our own apprentice coordinator we were granted from CDE. And Debbie Shackelford put together, we had this time last year, 18 paid student apprenticeships. The problem is the employer for all 18 of them was District 11. So we build the curriculum. It's a 2,000-hour program. It takes some kids usually till after they graduate to complete it, but it becomes a graduation requirement for them. They get credits to go to work. Instead of, I can't do my homework because I have to go to work, we're paying them, it's actually higher than minimum wage. The ask of the community is, be the first local business that opens your door to a paid apprenticeship. Yes, that's going to cost you 1,000 hours, but I promise you we are going to give you our best and our brightest, and you are going to be totally overwhelmed at how they can take these learning objectives and turn them into great innovative ideas for your company. But right now, I'm on my second year of doing this, and I've made this plea before. I have 0 external partners who are willing to open their door. We'll build the curriculum, we'll write up all those reports, we'll do all this stuff, but meet us halfway and let our children get into the workforce into a way that it actually brings their learning to life for them to figure out, are you what they want to do for the rest of your life? And I think any parent out there, when your kids are in college and they get an internship, you get a big sigh of relief because you realize they are going to be employed. So if our kids could start to get that in their senior year of high school, it gives them this bridge into the workforce instead of constantly reading in the paper that they're not hireable. So anybody wants to continue that conversation, I'd love to have it.
I'll give that an amen.
Great, thank you for that input. One more question to the whole panel. Let's talk briefly about AI. It was mentioned in the last session. As AI is shifting workforce trends fast, how are you seeing AI and automation impact job seekers and businesses, and what should they be doing to stay competitive? So we'll start here with Jenny.
So for university students, I think they're concerned, they're apprehensive, a little anxious, but also excited about the opportunity to have AI in their jobs. One thing that I think they need to hear, and everybody needs to hear really, is AI does not replace jobs. AI is a bonus to the current careers that are there. So it's really just helping with tasks. It's helping with, I use AI constantly for reporting, any of those type of things. And so I think knowing that students from UCCS are trained in AI, they understand it, they take a lot of different training, but also something that's really important is human skills. So we work with students to make sure they have human skills as well. So that helps employers knowing that one thing that would be really important for you as an employer would be to train the current staff you have in AI and then hire students that are adaptable and have really good human skills so that they can use AI in the workplace and catapult your business.
Yeah, we're sharing now. I love this. See how great the panel is? Jennifer and I were doing gender reveals. She had the blue one, I had the pink one. AI is a tool, and we are tackling that as an opportunity for our students to understand how to graduate into a workforce where they see it as a tool. There is certainly a lot of fear in the education sector that AI is going to replace the learning, the deep cognitive development and thinking and critical thinking for students. We've just shifted some of our instructional strategies. Yep, you can write an essay and maybe you can have AI write it, but then we're going to ask you to give a 5-minute synopsis in front of your peers on what that essay is, and you'll immediately know whether or not the kid had that generated from AI or not, because learning presents itself through the way the children can articulate that in one medium or another. So for us, it's an opportunity. I would go back a generation ago. I'm certain people had the same fear about the internet. I'm so old that I remember, a pocket full of dimes at the copy machine at the public library was seen as a massive advantage in technology because you didn't have to wait for the encyclopedia to come free and take it home. You could just copy the 5 pages or look in the microfiche. So I think we have to not be fear-based, see it as an opportunity. If we treat it from a fear perspective, then our kids will get outrun by it, and then we'll be the ones that are left behind. So. But we'll use it as a tool, and I appreciate it the same way you spoke to the same regard.
Okay, now I'm thinking about how VHS, we are all going to stop going to the movie theater. So yeah, thanks for that. I think what we're seeing is AI is flattening everything. So employers are starting to see every resume looking very similar. Job seekers are seeing every job description starting to look similar because AI is talking to AI. And I think the only thing that's left is what is our unique human fingerprint that we bring from our life story to the workplace? Or as an employer, what is our story, our unique story that wants to be told? Because I was sitting at a workforce development conference in DC, and a futurist came on and he said, the job of a futurist is kind of laughable. Like, who would have thought Taylor Swift would have been the #1 influencer in the NFL? Like, no one can predict that kind of stuff. So he said what's interesting in this world where AI can be an expert and fabricate almost anything, the currency of the future will be our relationships that we have with each other, because I know that I can trust Lance because I know Lance. I have a relationship. So I might be hearing something that I've read, but if I go to him, I trust him. So I think it's going to be what you can do is how do you tell your story? And how do you make connections? And if you haven't, as an employer, been to Jonathan Liebert's monthly free Better Business Bureau AI workshop that he has, it's really a shortcut to go through the tools, what you can do, because it is so phenomenal AI about automating routine tasks, which can really be an efficiency saver. So make sure you do that if you haven't already.
Well, hey, fellow panelists, great answers, all three of you. And I'll just add a little bit from our perspective. One of the things I've been saying for a couple of years now at Pikes Peak State College is that all of our over 100 disciplines at the college need to be familiar with how AI is changing their industry and integrating that knowledge into the curriculum, into the learning that we're providing to our students. So we think about accounting to zookeeping, dance to diesel, and all in between. So it could be creative industries, it could be business, it could be healthcare. But all industries, I think, are being impacted, but maybe in unexpected ways, and maybe not in the ways that we thought a year ago that impact might look. I think the thing to really keep in mind with it is that it's certainly a productivity tool that can help people get more done and improve maybe the outcomes and appearances of communications and that sort of thing. But it's not, I think, creating or a tool for powerful creativity, for powerful new ideas. And I think that one of the things that I learned as a young business person many years ago, working in the DuPont Corporation, and I think it's still true, is to Tamara's point, relationships matter, and the human touch matters, and human connection matters. And so while I think all of these are important, the capabilities that AI is bringing us are important. We want to be paying attention to it every day. Every faculty member at Pikes Peak should be thinking about how it's impacting. We also really believe deeply that human connection remains the currency that's going to be the most important.
Great, thank you. So I'll mix it up a little bit and we'll go back to Michael. And can you tell us a little bit about how D11 is preparing students for both college and career pathways?
Yeah, I'll start with the traditional role that you all know about, CTE and pathways. We are literally doubling and tripling those opportunities. This idea that every student has a plan. Any home builders association or developers out there, our careers in construction. At Coronado, we build a double wide in the parking lot, donate it to Habitat for Humanity. Usually takes 18 months to build out. But in the 6 years that program has been in place, we went from 77 kids signed up to 182 kids signed up. Now that's great because our kids are getting hands-on experience. Our certifications have been awesome as well. We went from, I think, 15 or 20 certifications that first year to over 300 in this last year, because we're figuring out ways to get multiple certifications without having to have them be unique individual classes. And they do translate to job placement, so I'm pleased at that pathway because I think we placed about 45 kids last year into actual construction-related employment opportunities. But it should be higher, and it should be the choice of the student to say, actually, I want to pursue higher ed, and then come back at a different entry level into that space. So we want to build those pathways out across the other sectors that exist, particularly in our local economy. And I want to focus on two areas there that we really just changed the school model, and both of those are a partnership where we put the student learning in the middle and then we put the K-12, the higher ed, and the industry around it. So if you envision a triangle, the students in the middle and the three sides of the triangle are a K-12 experience, higher ed, and then the local economy. The first example of that is right here at UCCS. Down the street on North Nevada is the O'Neill UCCS cybersecurity space. In the back half of that building this year, we opened the Colorado Springs School of Technology. We took 50 ninth graders in, and these are kids that, my joke is, if your kid decodes your computer as soon as you get it, or solves a Rubik's Cube when you put it in their hand, or unbends a wire hanger and turns it into a pterodactyl, this is where these kids need to go. And these kids are getting real life experience, one by highly qualified high school staff, and exposure to dual and concurrent enrollment, so they're getting college credits for the high school classes that they're taking through our UCCS partnership. And then they have all of that cyber lab, and there's cyber space SciAcs in there, NCCs in there, exponential impacts in there. And so these kids are getting exposed to the actual workforce while they're just in high school. And so they, every Monday they do, I think they renamed it, but it's basically a Mission Monday, where industry comes in and gives these kids a project, and they work on that project for the whole week. So just like you would in a real work environment. So instead of rows and columns and worksheets, these kids come in. I was there one day 2 weeks ago, and they were arguing over which galaxy they wanted to slew a telescope in South America to look at overnight so they could analyze it together in the morning when they came back to class. And actually the name of the company that does that is called SLEW, so if you're looking for a great way to get free telescope time. But we had ninth graders arguing over which galaxy they wanted to study. So putting that space, and the other partnership we have is with my very good friend. Lance is the first person who took me to lunch first day I got here. He saw me as a ripe opportunity, and I appreciate that. We announced starting this year that we're converting Lance's Pikes Peak downtown campus into a teacher's college. And we're starting that uniquely and specifically to support our teacher cadets in District 11. So now, again, my teacher cadets can get college credit through Pikes Peak State College at their downtown campus, and then come and student teach in our elementary and middle schools, which might be the very school that they went to just a few years ago. And because of the philanthropic support and the state, you can do all 4 years at Pikes Peak to graduate with a bachelor's degree in education and not pay for any of it. So we're surrounding the opportunity around the student. And if you think about this linearly, the way the system's built right now is we make the student navigate all the other systems. You got to go to you got to go to K-12. Sometimes you go to 2 different districts because of choice. Maybe you went to a charter school, then you got to pick your higher ed, and then you got to figure out if you're going to get a job. And every time we pass that baton off, the kid isn't ready. So what if all the people who own the baton were around the child instead? So we hope to be announcing maybe a medical opportunity as well. How can we do that for aspiring people that want to get into the medical field? I already told you that we're doing some of that in careers in construction, but we have to stop thinking about the process being the goal. The product is the goal. The diploma isn't the end, it's the beginning. So how does every kid graduate, again, where I started, with a plan of how they're going to enter into the middle part of their own lives? I'd love for them all to stay in Colorado Springs. We were all that age and nobody wanted to stay. But a lot of people come back, and wherever they land, having those real life experiences with partners like UCCS and all the folks up here that help supply it and Pikes Peak State College just gives kids a tremendous leg up. And so I'll just end with what it shouldn't be. It's not on the high school to solve this. We should not be putting in more hydraulic lifts in every high school for kids to figure out how to turn a wrench and change a spark plug. We ought to be going to every dealership in town and saying, can we have one bay for just 4 hours Friday afternoon or Thursday morning, whatever time works for you? And can you actually teach our kids the soft skills that if they don't show up with their shirt tucked in and their, McCombs Chevrolet hat on the right way, that they can't come to class? Because when you just make automotive supports a high school thing, then it becomes the thing that the only kid who goes there is the kid who doesn't have anywhere else to go. But if you were to tell an aspiring kid on a robotics club right now that they could go work at a Mercedes dealership and actually be inside that automotive bay and see what it takes to build and fix and sell cars, you might motivate that kid to actually be the next person who invents the most incredible thing for automotive industry. So we have to seamlessly bring this together around the child. That's where I'll close. Thank you.
Great, thank you. So we'll go to Jenny. Jenny, what trends are you seeing at UCCS in student career interests, and how do they align with local labor market demand?
Yeah, so I think the trends that we're seeing are students having a really strong interest in cybersecurity, engineering, healthcare, business, and psychology. And in those areas, we have tons of different programs that can meet workforce needs within the community and the nation. So these are really, it's interesting how students follow the flow of what's happening in the nation with really not even realizing it. I think it gets planted in their head and then they're interested in it. So for instance, our healthcare, we have some programs that are really leaping and bounding ahead of other places. We've got a DO contract with UNC that we're going to start trying to help students that are interested in being a DO go to UNC and go to their program. We have a Doctor of Physical Therapy program. We have a new radiology tech program coming out. There's so many different things that are happening at UCCS that are building upon what our regional workforce needs. I think that one of the things that are really important is to know that we also have students who are interested in the arts, in education, and in public service. So we have a vast variety of students that have a lot of different skills and learning from these different degrees. So what we try to teach them for employers is they get their degree, but what we're looking for is what's going to happen after graduation? What can we do from a career perspective to help these students be able to use these trends and move on to what they want to do? Sometimes students will get a degree like psychology and move on to a graduate level degree, maybe counseling or social work or something like that, even police work. It can be anything. And they need to know how employers want them to address the employer's needs. So what kind of skills are those going to be? So we work a lot with NACE competencies, National Association of Colleges and Employers, and teach students these competencies: problem solving, tech fluency, communication is huge. But we want to partner with employers and find out what you want in the talent that is in UCCS. We have such great talent. These students are motivated, resilient, and ready to work. And so I think that having all the opportunities that students have to meet the workforce needs is really important for everybody to know that we have that talent here, and you can find what you need to fill the spots that you need. Would love to have employers partner with us, talk to us, let us know what they're looking for in those types of competencies or soft skills, transferable skills, because we want to make sure we're aligning, like Tamara said, the alignment. There seems to be a disconnect between students not thinking there's any jobs there because they're not getting hired, and employers needing job seekers. So how can you help us to let these students know what you need so that we can train them, get them out there, and have them hired without experience? Maybe micro experience. Don't want to go into another question, but what can we do for you? That's what I want to leave that with.
That's a great call to action. I appreciate that. Tamara, can you explain the return on investment that workforce centers provide to the region?
Yeah, absolutely. And I know we're getting short on time. So a couple of things about that. Locally, for every federal dollar we receive, $5 goes back into the local economy through people reskilling, upskilling, next skilling. And anyone that works with the workforce center, job seekers on the average earns $12,000 more than when they started. So there's definitely impact. That's the tangible, but there's so many intangibles too that we could talk about. But real quickly, I want to tell you some terms you're probably going to hear in the next year. And it sounds a little bit like a rap song as an employer, but stackable, rackable, trackable, reskilling, upskilling, next skilling, real quick. So stackable, it's working with these gentlemen and with UCCS Jenny on learning in small chunks that can lead to, these skills lead to a credential, a certification, or a degree. Rackable means that all of these are on a career pathway. So a lot of what the Workforce Center does through the Business and Education Alliances help people see in K through 12 those career pathways and how they can make those milestones. And then trackable, you're going to start hearing about these new digital wallets that eventually we will all have with all of our skills that are verified by the educational institutions and the job seeker has in control of. And then when they apply to a company, all of those skills will be verified by a former employer through an educational association, but it'll be a digital wallet. So we're working with employers to start beta testing that if you're interested. Reskilling is simply what it sounds like, acquiring new skills for a new role in your company. Upskilling, deeper skills to grow in your current role, AI. Next skilling, building those emerging skills that you might need. And there is funding available for employers to reskill, upskill, and next skill, so please reach out.
Great, thank you. And Lance, how is PPSC adapting its curriculum and credential offerings to meet the needs of today's employers?
Yeah, thank you for the question. Well, I want to start by saying I'm really eager to up my game and learn the workforce rap from Tamara. I'm going to get busy on that as soon as we're done on the stage. And, I was struck by your comments, Jenny, about how students sort of find the flow of what's happening in our country and in our economy. And I was going to quote one of my dearest friends in town, Bart Holliday, who's a philanthropist, Air Force Academy graduate, and then went on to study economics at Oxford. And I was thinking about, well, what's your favorite thing about economics? And Bart says he can sum up his years at Oxford University as well as his long and successful career with this: people respond to incentives. And I think that's exactly what's going on that Jenny describes, and I think it's exactly what's going on with so many of our students at Pikes Peak, that they are driven to find the career fields that create the greatest opportunity for them. So I think about things like our cybersecurity, computer science, networking degrees. We have well over 1,000 students in those programs. We have one of the few community colleges in the nation that hosts a medical campus. Our medical campus up north, also well over 1,000 students in a constellation of healthcare programs. And so students are moving in the direction of the economy. They're moving in the direction of where opportunity exists. The part that's Pikes Peak's role in that is to do a number of things. Number one, we have to be connected to what the industry needs. So all of our programs have advisory councils, professionals and business owners working in the industries, talking to us about the updatedness, the relevance of our curriculum and whether we're teaching the right things, constantly helping us modify curriculum to be sure that it is aligned with what workforce area needs are. I would say also, a lot of focus at Pikes Peak on being sure that our programs produce graduates who can earn a living wage in Colorado. And that's becoming increasingly a really serious focus for us and something that we're really concerned about. And when I think about that right now, and our earlier presentation on housing really connects to this around what does it actually cost to live on the Front Range of Colorado. Well, we peg that, our understanding is around $52,000 a year for a single person in the Front Range to be able to earn enough to comfortably, reasonably afford housing and take care of themselves. And so we're really examining our programs very closely to be sure that we are adapting programs and making changes as needed to insert, for example, industry credentials to be sure that the graduates coming out of those programs can actually earn a living wage. And lastly, I would say that we've been very public and transparent about the fact that we are investing in the areas that do the best job of producing those graduates that can earn a living wage. And so for us, there's been three areas. Healthcare was really number one in the building of the medical campus up north about 10 years ago, really signified our investment there. Technology has been second, and we've put a great deal of resources into especially hiring the faculty that we need to drive a first-rate technology program and put people into the classroom that are true experts in the field and can prepare students well for the work in those fields. And most recently is engineering. And so last year we introduced 6 new engineering programs. So there's civil engineering, there's mechanical engineering, there's industrial engineering. Interestingly, the only aerospace engineering program, associate's level in the state, is now at Pikes Peak State College, and well, it should be given the focus here on the aerospace industry. And the wages are remarkable, by the way. The average wage for an aerospace engineer with an associate's degree in Colorado is $168,000 a year. So very good field for people to be in. So those are the kinds of things we're focused on to be sure that we're meeting the workforce needs of the region. I think focusing on where students want to go, where they can earn a good living, is very well aligned with also what the workforce needs of the region are.
Great, thank you. And we do have a couple questions from the audience. We'll see if we can get to both of those, but I will pose the first question, and anybody who wants on the panel can answer that. What are the biggest gaps between what is being taught in universities and what is needed in the Colorado economy?
Well, that's a difficult one, because if I knew what the answer to that was, I would just be fixing it. And so, again, the things that we do, I think all of us up here focus a lot on understanding what industry recognized credentials are, embedding those into programs, and ensuring that students coming out with credentials, that both associate's degrees, bachelor's degrees, high school diplomas, certainly recognized out there, but also what are the other credentials, the A+, Security Plus, the NCLEX pass for a nurse, those kinds of programs that allow our students, regardless of institution, to be able to successfully move into the workplace. So I'm not kidding when I say if I knew what the biggest gap was, I'd just be out there fixing it.
Yeah, I think we've heard some of the observations here, and I want to tie a couple ideas together. You all remember the game of life, and you kind of spin the wheel around, and you go around, and you're handed a career. No one in this audience was handed a career. You had an experience that motivated you, hopefully, that you like what you do, and it becomes a passion of your life. So children, whether they be in K-12 or higher ed, or even any young adult, just need more experiences. We think that children get access to more experience and more information because of the information technology that sits in front of them. But to Tamara's point, without the human connection, the information is garbage in, garbage out. And so anything that you can do, and I'll just give you I'll take the cheesiest opportunity for the plug that we're doing downtown. Today and tomorrow, we have all our 8th graders doing chalk art in downtown. Today, they're at the Pioneer Museum. Tomorrow, they'll be at Acacia Park. And they're drawing their version of liberty. Now, it's not just an art class, because we made it cross-functional, And so they had to do the math behind the grid, and they had to actually write a paper about what they felt about liberty, and they're figuring out different ways to make chalk work. If you wet it, it kind of turns into a paint. And so I'm seeing children completely immersed in a learning environment. And I think if you ask the average 8th grader, what do you want to do on October 2nd and 3rd? The answer isn't, I want to go draw on a sidewalk in downtown. So anything that we can do to get more experiences. What if we had an indirect compensation model where every new company that came to Colorado Springs, you get 1% off whatever is the tax that they pay if you created an equivalent amount of either time, space, or energy that you poured into pipeline development at either K-12 or higher ed. When I go to Pikes Peak, the Pikes Peak Workforce Center, and I ask employers, who's hurting for talent? Everybody raises their hand. And I'm not alone as a superintendent to tell you that a third of my kids graduate without a plan the day after graduation. This generation has redefined the word gap year to be, I'll figure it out. When our generation took a gap year, it meant we deferred our college, or we were fortunate enough to go travel the world or volunteer for a nonprofit. This new generation, a gap year is, I'm going to sit in my parents' basement until they kick me out. So more experiences that allow all this technology and information to get the kids excited about something. Once you flip that switch off on a kid that they're excited, then our job is solved. They'll actually make your businesses better because this next generation is thinking about problem solving differently.
And if an apprenticeship or internship seems like too heavy of a lift, do a job shadow or allow us at the Workforce Center through PPBEA to interview you to hear more about your career and your career pathways. So there's lots of points of entry for that.
Yeah, just real quickly, that is great. So Lance, thank you for talking because it made the gap come out. And thank you to Michael and Tamara. But micro experiences are kind of this new trend that's coming out. And we are doing a pilot program here at UCCS doing micro experiences. And this means coming into your office and shadowing, even for 4 hours for a student, is going to be so beneficial. So anything like micro experiences, we're missing out that personal element that everybody's been talking about. That's what students need. They need to see what the job is like. Even if it's for a brief little snapshot, they need to know what that is. So not only that, micro internships, mentorships, anything like that would be really beneficial. And I think that is a gap that we have. I don't know, I think it's a learning gap. It's not a teaching gap, but I think it's a learning gap for students to not have that space, to have that human connection and that experience.
Thank you, and that's a great way to wrap that up with UCCS talking about those micro experiences, micro internships, and that call to action for employers to even just host kids for, like you said, a few hours, give them some real hands-on learning experience. This has been great. Thank you all so much for your time. Would you please give our panel a round of applause?